genesis behind that, and why we're even discussing that. And that is the school situation in the middle of the county. And back in March, when this was first brought up at a workshop, I asked then that we don't start moving down a road knowing that we're going to have a new superintendent here that needs to take a look at this from a big picture and totally understand where we're at. And not only that, but understand all the options that are on the table. And if we all remember, one of the questions that we asked each of the individual superintendent candidates during the public comment or public interview questions was specifically about the concept of either opening or closing or redistricting and the impact that that has on the community. And to a T, I think everyone agreed that and answered with the community needs to be involved. Well, so far they haven't in this, and so I will ask you to take a hard look at exactly where we are and what this situation has, why this has been brought to the commission, and then to tell us how you envision us, including the community, in this decision about whether or not new schools are actually needed. We need to have that open discussion about what all the options are, the costs associated with that, the return on investment of a new facility, of either repurposing or putting portables or whatever the other options are on the table. All that needs to be out there before we make any decisions or vote on anything that allocate funding to build new schools. So I know that's a big challenge, but it's one that's near to the table because it's already out there and it's already being discussed at the commission level.
Because I would love to talk about something besides software.
Well, I think I can answer Mr. Craig's question partially and then give a background on why we were even there. As you know, we've been using our impact fees to pay debt for the last 3 or 4 years because it was necessary to do so. We didn't have money. We barely had money to pay the debt, and we were using that to allow us to buy a few buses and a few computers and maintain our facilities at a minimal level. Well, in the meantime, we were as a district growing in the central and south areas. Options are pulling in portables, rezoning, building additions before you build a new school. So those are some of the options, Mr. Craig, that you can do before you build a new school. At some point, pulling in portables stresses the core capacity. You start feeding lunch at 10 o'clock and feeding until 2. So those the ratio of portables to core capacity is a real restriction. I believe that we're there in the south area. We have an enormous number of portables around those schools in the West Melbourne, the north part of what we call the south area. So I believe that either additions, replacing those portables is an option, but that just keeps that ratio of extra classrooms to core capacity at the level it is now. You can do that. I don't think that solves the problem because we're showing an enormous amount of upcoming growth in that West Melbourne area, as we do in the Viera area. We're a little more fortunate in the Viera area because we don't have nearly as many portables there, and we have some opportunity to rezone. I don't believe that there's really any opportunity to rezone down in the south area, except for a little tweak possibly to tweak isn't the right word, a small redistricting at the south part of the Melbourne intermediate boundary that would help relieve that. We have some schools with capacity down around that south area, south part of that boundary. So that's a small possibility. Viera, there's a slight possibility. We don't have as many portables in Viera so that we can delay our need to do anything by bringing in portables until we get to that ratio where we're stressing the core capacity. The north area, I think, is stable, and we have facilities there that we've recently closed that we could open up again. So I'm sure we're okay there. As Dr. Bingley's vision was to build new schools as opposed to additions. In support of that vision, he contemplated a 6-year capital plan that used the impact fees to supplement some of our savings currently and use of some of the ad valorem monies to build those schools in a timely fashion, 3 years down at West Melbourne and 6 years, 5 to 6 years at Viera. To do that, it was necessary to aggregate all of the fees that we collect throughout the county, which is not possible with the 4 impact fee districts. So at the workshop that Dr. Bingley presented his vision, I said, I would like your permission to ask the county commission to contemplate reducing those impact fees down to 1 benefit district to give us the flexibility that we needed. The impact fee advisory committees objected to that. They felt that there needed to be some definition of area in which the impact fees were collected, but were more than willing to help us. And remember that the impact fee committees have a representative from every local government. So we had all 16 local governments on that committee, representatives from. As a committee, they voted for an option to allow us, or they recommended basically to you and to the county commission that 2 districts were appropriate, the north and the south. And to help us, they also recommended a slight increase in the impact fees to allow us to collect what we now collect throughout the county in the south area. We collect about 75 or 76% of our fees in the south area. So there was a slight increase up to about $5,800 in the single family homes from 44, 45 to make that offset. They as advisory committees, representatives of the local governments, were trying to work with us and help us. It was a very collaborative effort. At the county commission, Mrs. Kneessy and I attended that workshop. After some debate, I believe that the county commission understood our dilemma. They grasped Mrs. Kneessy's concept of giving us additional flexibility, and they gave some weight to the recommendation of the impact fee committee, advisory committee members, representatives of local governments, and voted to direct staff to put together an ordinance that reduced the impact fee districts from 4 to 2 and increased it not by the amount that we had proposed or the impact fee committees had proposed, but as a percentage of the consultant's new fee schedule, which in this case was 50%.
Well, this was actually your suggestion, and I thought it was an excellent, I could say, Dane, you're not giving yourself enough credit, because when we went into this, they weren't going to make any changes to the fee schedule. It would have been the original schedule from 2004 with no changes. And I gotta say, Dane, you need to give yourself credit for this. And so he suggested that let's look at what the consultants recommend, because you should always, it needs to be something defensible. And the consultants were recommending, $10,000, this huge, which wasn't going to fly at all. So Dane said, let's look at what the consultants recommend and do 50%. And with those numbers, that gives us a slight increase on the single family, which is really the ones that generate the kids and is our biggest growth. But it gives a very nice decrease in mobile homes and multifamily.
Correct.
And that also was something that the county commissioners liked hearing, because those were also a lot of times our lower income families. And although you don't tie the two together, they were concerned about lower incomes areas being hit with higher impact fees. And so what was nice was to be able to have significant decreases in those two areas. And you probably can, do you have the exact numbers?
I do not. I have a percentage. I can approximate them. The single family, which represents about 90 to 92% of the actual transactions on impact fees, went up about $680, or the recommendation is to put it up to about $680 to about $10,000. I'm sorry, from $44.45 to $55,096.
Yeah, almost $5,100.
About a 14% increase. The multifamily apartments basically went down by about 30%, from 2,700 to 23 or 400, or it went into the to high teens, I believe. and the mobile family went down by 50%, from about 2,600 to about 1,300. So that I think the county commission recognized that it would help those lower priced dwellings as a percentage, the impact fee is a percentage of the cost of those dwellings. And I believe they were trying to work with the school board to give us some increase. More importantly, they have now a rationale on how they set those impact fees as a percentage of the latest study. So I think that helped them too.
Yeah, so it was really a win-win, and as I said, Dane gives himself no credit. It was really a win-win, and it would not have happened without Dane being there and how he tied it to the consultant's report. And like most things over at the county commission, it was 4-1, but the 4 county commissioners, they understood the importance of the impact fees, and I feel fairly confident as of today when it comes up for a vote at their next meeting. I feel very confident that it will continue forward, but he did an excellent job, and I just want to make sure that he will not give himself credit for it, but he needed to be recognized today for what he brought forward, or there would have been no changes to those impact fees. So
Thank you,
I just
Susan.
wanted the explanation, but also to say thank you for getting even that little increase through, because a little increase over a long period of time, I think, will make a big difference. So any questions?
I just want to reiterate, there's no doubt that, and I know the reason why he did it. I just want to make sure, though, that we understand that impact fees are not just for new construction. That is not, that shouldn't even be on the table. The reason why we're doing it is because of the impact to the school system, not because we have to go out and build a brand new school. That has not been determined yet. And I just want to make sure that that is understood, that we are going to do a full, thorough analysis. We close schools without being very transparent. We're certainly not going to open them without being very transparent. That means putting paper to pencil and showing the public exactly what the costs are of all the separate options, which is what we discussed at the March workshop. So thanks.
Absolutely. I just wanted to, that happened so quickly last week, and Dr. Blackburn wasn't here yet.